Hey, what's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about Equipoise and why I would suggest not to take it. Now, anybody can do what they want to do, and I know that there's some people out there that Boldenone or Equipoise they respond really well to, and it's fine. And for some people who monitor their blood work well and have things dialed, it could potentially work, but I was going to get into that a bit later. It's a bit more of an advanced drug to do, and it's one where there's too many variables. Okay, so it just really complicates things, and I like to keep kind of the motto in life: keep it simple, stupid, and it applies with taking steroids or exercise or nutrition or diet, nutrition, diet. It applies to a lot of these things, which is generally we tend to try to overcomplicate things, and in that overcomplication, it just makes things worse. And with steroids, it very much is that because, say you run your test too high, you got to take estrogen suppressors, and then you have to take ACE inhibitors, and before you know it, you're taking multitude of things, and it just complicates things where you could have just taken a simple test base and a simple secondary compound and called it a day. But with Equipoise, it adds some variables, which I'll get into in more detail, that make it one that is not ideal for your average guy. And I think with my channel, this is why I'm sharing it, because it's coming from a point of view which is somebody who's on more of like a sports TRT or HRT type of regimen. And I think Equipoise would be something that potentially some professionals use, but I would not recommend it for your average person. So I'll get right into why. The first thing is it can very much suppress estrogen to the point where it suppresses estrogen even after you're taking it for a long period of time. Okay, there's like this suicidal. It's called that estrogen metabolite, okay, or enzyme. It's an enzyme that attacks estrogen, okay, even after long after you're taking it, because, long story short, it's the same reason why it's the difference between Arimidex and Aromacin. You know what I mean? I think it's Arimidex. It lasts way longer, okay? And in doing so, you can crush your estrogen to levels which is not ideal. You'll feel like shit. You'll fuck up a whole bunch of things. That estrogen is needed. You need a proper estrogen balance. And if you're flying blindly and not getting blood work done very regularly, and you started taking Equipoise and you didn't, say, monitor your estrogen properly, that could be potentially dangerous. It's just very risky. And it's really needs, for that reason alone, there's other reasons, but that reason alone is risky because, you just have to have so much blood work done and dial it in properly, the right amount, the right test to E2 amount, because everybody's different. There's not a one shoe size fits all type of thing, okay? And so that's going to be the most important thing. But you might say, whatever, I get my blood work done every 2 months, I could take Equipoise and dial it in. So yeah, you could obviously do that, but there's other options that are safer and more effective, and that's what I'm going to get into right now, which is Equipoise. Sure, it's effective. There's an effectiveness there, no doubt, but there's other compounds that are also effective that are safer. So that reason alone, it's like, why do something that is more complicated when you can go something that's simpler? And look at the anabolic rating on Equipoise. It's not even that much. Now, there's, I think, some synergistic effects with other compounds. Equipoise definitely is a mass builder. And I should mention before, the anti-estrogen effect, it can be desirable. So when you do get it in the right balance, it can act as an AI, which is good, especially when you're taking high levels of testosterone. But I would even recommend taking high levels of testosterone. To be honest, from my understanding, if you're doing that high level test with Equipoise, there's going to be lots of problems, including a lot of hair loss. I think that people who do that are experiencing far more hair loss. So, but that's just a speculation on my part. It's not something I really want to get into this video, but I'll get into the next thing, which is the blood thickness or viscosity. Okay, so the blood turns from like like a juice to a jam, essentially, thickness. Okay, and if you're taking anywhere above, I'm going to say 300, but some people take up to 500. If they're doing high level of test, well, your blood's going to be thick as fuck, and that's going to be a major problem, especially if it's over a period of time, which Equipoise is a long ester, which is another reason I'll get into in a minute. But it's going to last that thickness for a longer period of time, and like you got these arteries that are going through you that are like this thick. Okay, so for those, it's not going to be a problem. But you got all these capillaries and things in your body, which are like super, super thin, that are like branch on the outer branches of your vascular system. Now, when you got blood that's very thick, it like the blood won't even reach those levels. So what happens when blood doesn't reach those levels? That area becomes hypoxic. What's it called? Hypoxic? Yeah, I think that's it. Which is lacks oxygen. And when something lacks oxygen, guess what happens? It dies. Guess what areas of the body need oxygen? Your brain, your kidneys, a whole bunch of tissues in your body. Guess what happens if you're taking something like Equipoise that in your hematocrit or red blood cell counts through the roof for months, years at a time? You're going to have fucking brain damage. Because like all these little capillaries and things, there's no oxygen getting to it. So that's not something I hear a lot of people talking about. But it's something very valid. And the other issue with the kidneys is that in itself. But there's also reported and tests that were done, granted they were done on rats, not humans, showed that there are kidney issues with Equipoise as well. And I think this is being verified. I've heard it anyway being verified with coaches who look at thousands of, clients' blood work, on all different types of compounds, and kidney issues with Equipoise is one that, from what I've heard, seems to pop up. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. But just as, if you drank whiskey your whole life, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have liver failure, at 65. You might live to be 105, right? So it's not necessarily mean it's going to happen, but there seems to be a trend there anyway. So I'll leave it on that aspect. And lastly, it just lasts way too long. And this is something that for some people, the half-life anyway of it, this is for some people might be something that is desirable that they're looking for, which is fine. Just some people might like Deca, but it's even longer than Deca, I believe. But it's just going to be one of those things where if you do run into problems with it, it's for somebody who is kind of inexperienced, it's going to take that much longer for it to go away, which sucks. Like for me, that's why I stick to kind of on the shorter side of esters. Doesn't mean they're like 1 day ester, like Trent acetate or anything. Like NPP is like 5 days to a week. Okay, and testosterone is like cypionate's kind of the same. So that's kind of like the middle ground I like around that area. Or like Masteron and Enthate would be another example, or even Trembolone and Enthate for that matter. But with Equipoise, you're talking over a month, right? So, like if you did run into, like, say for example, that high hematocrit, well, you're going to be having that issue for over a month, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Lastly, I should mention that it does seem to have some cognitive / behavioral issues, like you could call it roid rage, but as well, I think it just causes just neurological changes, and it might be one of those things that it is one of those things where it itself might not cross the blood-brain barrier, but I speculate that the downstream metabolites of it do, and I also speculate, as I was mentioning before, that because of the vascularity of something like the brain, that there might be areas of the brain that are hypoxic because it's not getting the right blood supply to those corners of the brain. So you might see some or experience some psychological issues. So if you are going to do Equipoise, I recommend very low doses, but I also recommend other compounds that work better. Even a nandrolone I would recommend over Equipoise. Primobolan, definitely Masteron. But it does have its unique qualities, and it does seem to work. And if you have, say, for a professional, and they have like their own doctors and medical oversight and coaches monitoring everything, then yeah, they could probably do it. Okay, like it's not something that I recommend that could never be done. But for just your average person, which if you're watching this video, you probably are, it's not a good idea. I'd steer way clear from that. And but a lot of people are trying it more than ever because of the great Masteron and Primobolan shortage that's going on. So a lot of people are moving to EQ. And to be honest, I was even tempted myself. But I found something that works for me, which is just test based with some nandrolone. And maybe if I can get my hands on some more Masteron, that works too. But test nandrolone in itself, like NBP, does wonders. Meets all my expectations. What I need. Really don't need to do anything else. So I'll leave it there. Let me know what your thoughts are on Equipoise, what your experience might be on Equipoise. But I'll finish with saying that no doubt it works. No doubt it works. But at what cost is going to be the issue, and is there other alternatives? Is there a safer, better alternative? I'll leave it there as a thought for you. Thanks for watching. Peace.